a brand new Revell Harrier in 1/32 scale, and Luke popped on for a chat to discuss this fantastic release coming in 2027. Today, Revell has just announced something magnificent. They've decided to create an all-new, brand new tooled 1/32 scale Harrier, which you have some sway on how they design it. They want you to send in information that will help create one of the most accurate scale models out there of the Harrier jump jet. We're talking about one of the most gloriously bonkers aircraft ever built. A very British experiment with a Rolls-Royce engine pointed at the ground. We're going full vertical thrust here. We're talking about a scale model of a British legend that can take off straight up and land on a postage stamp and still look cooler than Steve McQueen jumping a barbed wire fence on a motorcycle. Revell announced this project and gave it a codename, Project Harrier. This is to replace the old Harrier they have first molded back in 1972. Yes, that's right, the original tooling is about 55 years old next year. That mold is now almost a pensioner. It's older than me. It's older than half the trees in Britain. It was released in an age when people still thought decimalisation was a good idea. But instead of slapping on new decals on that tooling, Revell have gone full bore and wants to release an entirely brand new, fresh one. And next year, the Harrier will be celebrating 60 years of its first flight, which was on the 28th of December 1967. So who better to hold accountable for this magnificent act of plastic fantastic than the man who managed to get this project signed off? So here is my interview with Carrera Revell project manager, Mr. Luke Slaney-Hewitt. Right, we are recording, so I shall start off with hi Luke, thank you for joining me today on what I think is going to be a fabulous release on the 1/32 scale Harrier jet. Amazing. What's brought Revell into this position of producing a kit that I don't think has been tooled for many a year?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good to be back. We've obviously just announced the Harrier Project Harrier, as we're calling it. So we're going to sort of take people behind the scenes of how we develop a kit all the way through. So it's a while yet till the plastic comes, but we're hoping to take people on the journey, showing them, month by month, real time updates of how it's coming together and get input and Q&As, do votes and things like that, so people can actually input into the kit development. In terms of why Harrier, firstly you have to start with it's a bit special because it takes off in a direction that no other planes do, really. So in terms of capturing people's imagination, it's great for that. And also I've been saying to others at Revell, you have to consider countries it's served with. So obviously UK is a big market for us, but also continental Europe and the US. If you cover two of those, you've got the RAF using the Harrier and the US Marine Corps using the AV-8A, the Harrier, and also RAF Germany. So a lot of these Harriers were based out there. So it's a really recognisable subject. The only competitor for us was us, our old 32nd scale model. It's a bit, old at this point. So it seemed a no-brainer, really. We can get quite a few boxings out of it. So we have GR1, GR3, Sea Harriers, two-seaters potentially in the future. So the possibilities are endless in that way. So that's why we went with Harrier.
Incredible that this is the journey you're taking now, because normally, like yourselves and other scale model manufacturers or kit producers, you would announce something that would be like further down the line, that it was like it is just the tooling has arrived in the factory and you're just about to ship it off and you've had the first test shots. So this is a bit of an experiment then for Revell to go down this route, and I'm assuming that if I can say this, you're taking notes from what Qatari have done to do this, but without the need for buying into a project, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think the market in general is changing how they announce things. You can look at the guys in red; they were sort of announcing earlier and earlier, and yeah, Qatari are doing it, DBMK, and a few other manufacturers. For me, it's great because you get the actual input from the consumer. We're not asking for anything from them; we just want them to come on the ride with us. The tagline for Project Harrier is "Join us on our jump jet journey," which is quite nice, alliteration. So yeah, I think the market generally is tending to do this now. It's really rewarding for me as a product manager to be able to engage with people. And the worst moment of a product is if you get to Telford and someone goes, "Oh, you've made a mistake there." Hopefully, by announcing it now and bringing people along, you don't have any of that. That's the idea anyway.
I'm always a bit of a worry with that because too many cooks spoil the broth. I suppose you would have some sort of you must have one focal point there, or one focal man who would take. I presume it'd be you who would take all this information and double check this all as well, I guess. So, but then if you're not having to look through pages and pages of archival material, because there's probably people out there who've flown a Harrier or worked on a Harrier and know the interest, the finer points, I guess. So I suppose beat into that is a really good way of getting the most accurate 1/32 scale Harrier out there.
Yeah, I still have to act as the sieve because people will send you all sorts of information. It's great, but some of it's just not relevant for designers. They don't care about the operating procedures for starting the engine. Those sort of manuals you can chuck away pretty quickly. They want to know where things are and the shape of things. So it's my job to take all that information and sort of refine it down to what's needed. But yeah, it's really helpful to have everyone sending that information in, and then people like Chris who's designing it and Horatio who's doing the engine. They don't want to be bombarded, so I act as that go-between.
Yes, I get that. That will be that. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, that filter. That's a really good, a good way of looking at it. So, how far have you got with it? Have you scanned, or have you got scans of a Harrier? Is there any particular Harrier that you've looked at in a museum or in a collection that you think that's a really good one to scan, or you're going to go looking, or you're going to go traveling using the company credit card to get you over to specific hangars where there's Harriers like in America and stuff?
Yeah, I wish I could convince them to send me to the States to tour different Harriers, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. We have scanned. We did a big trip to Wittering, I think over a year ago now. Wittering Heritage Centre, obviously Wittering is an RAF base at the moment, so you can't just rock up. But they have a hangar that has a GR3, a GR7, a T4, and a GR1, but it's not a GR1, it's actually a P1127 RAF, which means it was one of the first 6 to enter service, and it's slightly different. So you have to be careful, when you're dealing with anything prototype, you don't trust it, basically. But in terms of a place to start the research, that's the best thing we could ever wish for, having all the sort of versions together, being able to scan, take photos, measure up different bits. So I have to say thank you to them. And also Gatwick Aviation Museum, they have a GR3, but they also have a Pegasus engine sat on a trolley and the ejection seat sat outside of the jet, which is perfect. So you can get measurements of the seat and all the detail behind the seat that would normally be blocked by the aircraft. And also sort of the inverse of that, you get to see the whole cockpit tub of the Harrier without a seat being in the way. So that's fantastic for us. We scan that one as well, just to make sure, and we've taken photos and all sorts there. And then so thank you to them, and thank you to Chetan Heritage, who have a GR3 that runs. It's the only ground running GR3 in the world, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, the video that we've just put out starts with the sound of their engine starting up and ends with it winding down. So again,
Yeah,
thank you.
fantastic. In my mind, you only do a 1/32 at the moment, a 1/32 scale Harrier, don't you, at Revell?
Yeah.
So with all this coming into you now, this must bring out the thoughts of we could do a 148 and a 172 in this, surely, in the future.
Possibly. I mean, so at 48th, you have the kinetic Harriers, which are quite good, and
Yeah.
very modern. And then at 72nd, you have Airfix, which I think their 72nd kit is very good. Not
Okay.
something I developed in my time there, so I can tell you.
No.
But
No.
yeah, so I think the scales are covered that size. It's the bigger side of the market that hasn't for
Yeah.
Harrier. So obviously Airfix have the 1/24th one back from 1970-ish, yeah. And I think, yeah, ours is around that date for the 32nd one as well. So,
no, you did it first. You did it first. I think.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think you were 72, and I think Airfix was 74.
Yes,
sure
well, you can probably on the Revell one, it's the old tooling is actually slightly wrong because it's based on one of those P1127 RAFs that I spoke about.
Yeah.
So just behind the intakes, there's a sort of a lump that comes out behind in front of the vectoring thrust nozzles. That's slightly different on those first editions.
Yeah.
And so they've copied the wrong one. It's not just 3D scanning that you can do that with. You can back in the 70s taking photos of the wrong thing.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm just thinking. Just going to look at scale mates now, and I think if I'm right, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh no, 1973. So the Hawker Harrier from Airfix in 1/24 was 73, but you were brought out a 32nd scale one in 1972. So yeah, pretty old tooling. So well, why not? We've always, it's been refreshing to see companies go back to tooling and think, you know what, we could do better. And I think, I think there's definitely a calling for this, in the market. I've always said to you, I think the one miss that everyone's been doing is not retooling their Concords. We've had anniversaries, we've seen a Lego one shoot off the shelves, and and I think that just putting it out there, a Concorde. So at this point in time now, what are you actually dealing with this Harrier as a group of Revell? Are you just going out there now, scanning, getting pictures, or are you wanting people right now to go and send you any information they have on the Harrier?
So what we're doing, obviously we've just done this announcement video, and we'll do a monthly update video showing behind the scenes, giving a quick summary, showing some of the work that's gone on over that month. Most of it will be CAD based now because a lot of the research is sort of done at the start. There'll be the odd trip here and there. Chris or Horatio might say to me, I need a picture of underneath this nozzle or in the cockpit, so we might then go back out, but a lot of it will be CAD based for the next couple of months, talking through our process. We want to do that for design, but also through to tooling and production, showing literally the whole way through, which is something I don't think anyone's really done before, including the tooling and also out to Poland in the factory. So we're really excited to do that. And as part of that, we'll be putting polls out as part of that sort of video series. We'll also be doing a series of blogs to accompany them. So a lot of it will be the same sort of information, but obviously in a written format, you can go into a bit more detail and have a few more sort of photos with captions to really sort of document the process. So as part of that, we'll be asking questions, what do you think of this? How can we improve? Some of it will be set responses, so A, B, or C. So we want people to vote on things like marking options eventually. Which of these is best, and we'll go with what they choose. Obviously, we set the shortlist because we don't want it to be some silly option, but we'll try and give as much choice as we can. So if you go to the blog, I know there's an email address at the bottom of it. Just search Revell Harrier blog; it will come up. There's an email address. Subject title Project Harrier, it will come through to me, or it will be sent to me eventually. So if you've got anything that you think's of use, of interest to me, please do send it. or comment on the video, either the Revell one, Moz's one, or any of the other ones I'm doing. And we do monitor these things. I'm forever lurking on forums and things, even if I don't comment.
Yeah, you got a fake name going undercover, like, yeah. And one last point: is this going to be another multimedia release where you're going to be having photo etch, resin, or are you just going to stick to the purity of plastic? And are you going to chuck in books and things like that, like you did with the Meteor?
No, so we're not going to we won't do a first edition this time. We tried it with Meteor, it went well, but with Harrier we're going to try something else again, and then we can try and work out what works best. So the first boxing will be a standard kit. So none of the bells and whistles. You just get the beautiful, hopefully really beautiful, crisp, most accurate Harrier kit ever in the box with instructions, decals, and that's your lot. Next year, that being said, next year is 60 years of the Harrier. So we've timed this well. So when it does come out, we might have a special edition that accompanies it, but the first boxing will be a standard one.
Brilliant. That's fine, yeah, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you was, I think sometimes, this is my own personal opinion, sometimes when resin and photo etch get involved, it becomes more of a compromise to a kit. And personally, I'm the kind of guy who likes to have the choice on whether I use anything. I want to call it aftermarket because that's what it is. I'm a plastic. I'm going down the road of being a plastic purist. So if you can bring out a 1/32 Hawker Harrier that fits beautifully and is designed stunningly and a really good build process, and keep away from any warping, that would be fantastic. I am so looking forward to this. Just want the timeline of saying 18 months to 2 years, or you're going to try and get as much done in the next 12 months? Is it going to be a challenge for you to have a timeline, or are you expecting it to go over that timeline?
We're expecting September 2027 for plastic to arrive, and it be in stock everywhere. So the hope is maybe, if you're quick, we could see a build or two on the tables at Telford in 2027. That's always nice. It's a challenge I set down. But yeah, so it's slightly speedy. Meteor was the same. We can condense our timetables a bit. We prefer 18 months, 2 years generally, but that doesn't normally include a bit of research. And obviously, we've started the design before announcing it, just so we had stuff to show. Obviously, So next year September for people to have kits seems very achievable at the moment. Obviously, God knows what the world's going to do in the next 12 months or so. We can ask our friends in America, but if it all stays as is, September next year seems good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, that's good. Yeah, I like that because, as I said, if not, I'll be in a bunker with the kits I've already got. Just I'm moving out of paint. Again, Luke, thank you so much for joining me here. And again, we wish you and Revell well on this, and hopefully each month we'll get the updates and discuss it on our channels. Thank you so much, Luke, for joining me. Cheers for that.
Thank you, boss. Cheers.
So there you go, a 1/32 Harrier. What a delight. Something that is missing in that scale and a must-have for all Harrier loving scale modelers the world over. With many variants and deployments and other countries operating them, like America, Germany and even Spain, which still have Harrier 2s till at least 2030, I think this is going to be an epic release from them. So, that Top Gear track image Revell put out last week, does it now make sense to you now? Did you guess correctly that the announcement was going to be a Harrier? Let me know in the comments box below. If you have the opportunity to work on one of these Harriers, maybe pilot one, have pictures up close of your Harrier you flew in, Revell needs your help. And if you have anything you think they need to create this 1/32 scaled legend, the email is in the description box below. And that leaves me here wanting to know your thoughts on this fresh approach from Revell on announcing this kit. Is this a kit you have been wanting to build in this scale for a while? What are your thoughts on getting the Harrier Jump Jet Massive involved in development and in choosing which schemes come in the box? Just let me know in the comments box below. And also please like this video, and if you're enjoying the content on this channel, please subscribe. It's free and it really does help the channel grow. And also, why not watch one of my other videos here, and I'll see you over there.